Talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to Connecticut.
The legend, Tim Tebow joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody, to a little bit of a surprise bonus episode of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. By the way, hope everybody can hear okay. I am in a Vegas hotel conference room. So ironically, I'm in Vegas to speak on an NIL panel tomorrow. And a coach that really is from a different era at a different time in college sports announces his retirement while I was on the plane. So I landed, I see a John Rothstein tweet talking about Roy Williams, Jay Wright, and now Tony Bennett. And I'm like, wow, okay. Was not ready for that. So basically got to the hotel, have yet to check in, found a conference room where I think my voice is vibrating off the walls. If the sound quality is terrible, please let me know. We're doing everything we can, but we had to do an immediate reaction to, I still think it's shocking news that Tony Bennett is retiring. So everybody come on in, drop your thoughts, drop your questions, drop your comments below. But listen, say whatever you want about Tony Bennett, and we're going to get into the good, the bad, the whatever. But I figured before we get playoff baseball tonight, before we get Thursday night football, we had to do a quick reaction. I'll probably give my red hot college football picks at the end of this show. But today, at least right now, this second, it is all about Tony Bennett. Again, Tony Bennett, the Virginia basketball coach, is set to retire. He's doing a press conference on Friday to make the official announcement. And again, I literally came straight from the airport. You can see I got circles under my eyes. Came straight from the airport, got stuff to do tonight, but just wanted to do a quick reaction. Haven't even checked into the hotel room yet. So we're going to react to everything. I'm going to give you my thoughts. Why now? What does it mean? By the way, what's the legacy of a guy who won a national championship and 0 NCAA tournament games after? We're going to discuss all of it in the coming minutes. Before we do, though, should mention really quickly, I do want to thank one of our newest sponsors, one of our favorite sponsors. That's Blue Chew. Fellas, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Well, now you're older. Your basketball team stinks. Maybe you're a Virginia fan. Maybe you're sad that Tony Bennett is retiring. You need a little extra kickstart when you get between the sheets. Well, that's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in chewable form. To get started with Blue Chew, it's easy. Just go to BlueChew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No awkward trips to the doctors, no waiting at the pharmacy, no stink eyes, no raised eyebrows. I'll tell you what, fellas, it is easy, it is simple, and now I know you're probably wondering, but does it actually work? Well, here's what I'm here to tell you. If you listen to the Torres pod, you get to try it for a month for free, and you can see for yourself. You're going to love it. Your partner's going to love it. Your basketball team may stink. You may be a Virginia fan, but you'll be like the Cavaliers in the 2019 Final Four, baby, jacking up threes from half court, only in the bed sheets, thanks to Blue Chew. So if you want to try it out for free, that's all you got to do. Go to BlueChew.com again, and as a listener of the Aaron Torres pod, you get to try this out for free. Go to BlueChew.com, use the promo code Torres at checkout. And all you got to do is pay $5 in shipping, BlueChew.com, promo code Torres. Receive your first month for free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. Thank you again to Blue Chew for sponsoring the Aaron Torres pod. With that said, it is a Thursday night. We weren't even going to go live, but I landed on the tarmac at McCarran Airport. There is no more time to waste. So let's very quickly get to the topic of the day. And the topic of the day, there's really only one topic on today's Aaron Torres pod. We may do some quick basketball or football picks at the end of the show. But the topic, the shocking news, in some ways it's shocking, some ways it's not. Tony Bennett, Virginia basketball coach, 2019 national champion, has officially retired. And so the news, listen, what do I always say on this show? Sometimes in life, two things are true. And in this case, I think it's totally true. It's shocking because of literally the timing of it. And a lot, and by the way, we're doing the show, no notes, no prep. And this is just all off the top of my head, okay? But at the end of the day, why it is shocking is because on the one hand, it's 2 weeks before the season. We went through ACC media availability. Last week was ACC Media Day. And I know people that were there. There was no indication that this was coming, that this was on the horizon, yet it drops 2 weeks before the season. Ron Sanchez, the lead assistant, is being named the head coach. And in terms of why now, two things immediately come to mind, okay? So first of all, a couple things. One, I'll be honest, maybe I'm dead wrong. Tony Bennett will have a press conference on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I believe. And he'll give you his own story. Sometimes, a couple things. What I'll say is I don't believe there is something nefarious going on, okay? Sometimes when you get the immediate resignation, there's a side, there's a relationship situation, there's pending news coming out. I don't know Tony Bennett. I don't get the impression that there's something nefarious, something with his marriage, something in his personal life, something whatever. He is going to explain all of that later. What I do think has happened, so like I said, two things in life can be true. I'm surprised by the timing, but I'm not surprised. And I really believe this is happening now, and we'll get the full explanation on Friday morning. I believe it's for two very simple reasons. One, I just don't think this guy wants to deal with the NIL portal era, okay? And it's ironic. I am here in Vegas to speak on an NIL panel tomorrow, Friday morning. But I just think this is one of these old school guys that came up in a different era where, you have players for 3, 4, 5 years. You can redshirt players for 3, 4, 5 years. If a guy doesn't play right away, he can't bounce out to the next spot. Obviously, NIL, I don't think by the way, I've yet to meet a coach who's quote unquote anti-NIL, but I do think what NIL has become, which is highest bidder, Virginia is never going to be a school that just has a bunch of donors lining up to just pay the most that you can possibly pay to basketball players or football players or whatever. That's just not how the university is. And so when you look at Tony Bennett, I think he's one of these guys. I just think he is an old school guy, came from a different era, coached at a time and really kind of came up as a coach in a time when you could, like I said, redshirt players for 2, 3, 4 years. You could keep them in the system. And you talk to anybody who knows him, and I'll be honest, I don't know him. He'll explain in the coming days. But when I look at his setup, I just don't think this is a guy that every single year wants to have to convince kids over and over and over again, come back, do this, do it again. And it's pretty interesting, actually, in that if you look at his career, crazy success in the pre-portal NIL era, not so much in the post-portal NIL era. First of all, I think it's worth noting, before he even got to Virginia, was at Washington State, made the NCAA tournament in 07 and 08 at Washington State. Obviously, he had Klay Thompson with him at that time, but made the tournament twice at Washington State. It's worth noting, they've made it one time since he left. That was last year, Kyle Smith, the last year of the Pac-12, then goes to Virginia. And from 2012, let's just go 2012 to 2019 when he wins that national championship, makes the NCAA tournament every year but one. On top of that, he made the Elite Eight He made the Elite Eight in 2016. That game, if you remember, they had a huge lead against Syracuse and kind of fell apart in the second half against Syracuse, end up losing in the Elite Eight. They made a Sweet 16 in 2014. And then, of course, they made that national title run in 2019. And if you look at the pre-NIL portal era, this dude was turning out pros, but he was turning out pros kind of quote unquote his way, right? You go back, Malcolm Brogdon, ACC Player of the Year, still in the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks. Ty Jerome was part of that 2019 national championship team, still in the NBA with the Cleveland Cavaliers. DeAndre Hunter was a lottery pick, still in the NBA now with the Atlanta Hawks. Still, a couple more. Joe Harris was a big-time NBA player, is a big-time NBA player with the Detroit Pistons. So he was having success doing it his way. But I think ultimately you get to this post-portal NIL world, and guys just didn't want to stay. They didn't want to stay for 2, 3, 4 years, wait their turn, stay behind. It sucks, but that's just the reality. And so I think Tony Bennett was in a disadvantageous position of he just didn't want to be the guy that had to re-recruit his roster every single year. Who's coming back? Who's staying? Like, he wanted to recruit a guy and know, hey, I'm going to have him for 2, 3, 4 years. The sad thing is that just isn't a reality in 2024, 2025. It was funny in preparation for this NIL event that I'm speaking at on Friday. By the way, shout out to Ryan Silver and Silver Waves Media. They're going to put on an amazing event. I'll talk about it on Monday's show. You know, I was talking to assistant coaches, and I'm talking to guys in their 50s. I'm talking to guys in their 30s. And the guys in their 30s are like, dude, I'm glad that I didn't come up in the previous era because this would make me pull my hair out. But I kind of understand that if I'm at the high major level, I got to be okay with guys coming in, being a one and done, deciding to go pro, coming in, not playing, deciding to transfer down. By the way, if you're at the mid-major level, maybe you get a guy transfer down and then he plays a year, it transfers back up. That's just the world that college basketball is going into. And I think there's a lot of young guys that understand that. I think Dan Hurley doesn't like it, but he accepts it because he's in his early 50s and he's got to make it work. Nate Oates just turned 50. He's got to make it work. Todd Golden at Florida is in his late 30s. He's like, dude, I don't love it, but what am I going to do? Not coach? But then there's guys like Tony Bennett. He's 55 years old. He's made probably more money than he ever intended to make. By the way, fun fact, he actually played in the NBA for a short time, so he's got some NBA money. And so I just think he's ready to move on. I think the other thing outside of the portal stuff, I do think the timing right now leads me to believe that he wanted his lead assistant to get the head coaching job. I don't know that for sure. He probably won't say it publicly because it's going to make him look bad in front of his now former bosses. But I just find it hard to believe that there's any other reason other than that in terms of why he made the decision when he did just 2 weeks before the season. Ron Sanchez will take over, was a longtime assistant, went to Charlotte, left Charlotte to come back last year, and now he's going to take over. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of my alma mater at UConn, where Kevin Ollie was a lead assistant for Calhoun for 3, 4, 5 years. Calhoun is ready to hand the program to him. Ward Manuel, who's now the Michigan AD, wasn't ready to hire Kevin Ollie as the head coach. So Calhoun in like September was like, I'm stepping aside. So that's the news. You know, from the legacy perspective, I'll say this is that I think it's very interesting what this guy's legacy is in college football or college basketball, in 2024, 2025. And here is why. It is because he has as interesting of a resume as he gets set to retire as I can ever remember. Okay. So this guy, how about this? And I've shared this stat many, many, many times, but this guy's resume is insane. Wins the national title in 2019. Okay. We think this is the start of something special. It's amazing. It's da-da-da-da. It's this and that. What does it all mean? Blah, 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 this and that. Well, now you fast forward, you know that Tony Bennett, this is one of the craziest stats that I can ever remember. Tony Bennett has not won an NCAA tournament game since the 2019 NCAA tournament. So producer Matt pulled up the tweet. Thank you. So this is the tweet I sent out at, 4:03. I think that would have been Central, so 2:03 Pacific time. Just landed to the Tony Bennett news. He leaves college hoops with one of the wildest stats ever. This is from Aaron_Torres. Great account if you don't follow it. In his last 7 seasons, he won 6 NCAA tournament games. All 6 came during the 2019 title run. Lost in his tourney opener in 2018, 2021, 2023, 2024. That is insane, okay? So first of all, it's crazy that this guy quite literally had the wildest 2-year turnaround, 2-year high and low in NCAA tournament history, right? In 2018, first coach ever to lose as a number 1 seed to a 16 seed. That was the famous UMBC game in 2018. We all remember where we were. I know I was actually covering the NCAA tournament in San Diego. Fun fact, I think producer Matt's Auburn Tigers were playing there in 2018. But then on top of that, I would add that 2018, that shocking loss, but then the counter to that is he comes back and wins it in 2019. But what's especially wild about that, he wins it in 2019. Who could have told a Virginia fan he would not win a single tournament game after that, okay? So 2020, no tournament, obviously because of COVID. 2021, that was the year Virginia made the NCAA tournament as a 4 seed, lost to Ohio. That was the COVID NCAA tournament, as there is apparently some sort of construction behind me. This is real life. You can't slow this down. Can I have about 5 more minutes? I'm doing something right now. I'm on a call. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They told me to come in here. This is real deal Holyfield right here, people. I'm holding up a whole breakdown of a conference room, okay? But anyway, I bring it up because 2021, that was the COVID bubble tournament, lost to Ohio. 2022 does not make the NCAA tournament. 2023, buzzer beater by J.P. Pegius, who's now at Auburn. A lot of Auburn ties with Tony Bennett. Lose to Furman. And then last year, the lasting memory of the Tony Bennett era is the fact that he lost that awful play-in game. They don't want to call it the play-in. They want to call it the first 4. They lost the play-in game 67-42 to Colorado State. They lost to Colorado State 67-42, a final score. Last year, that is his last game. And so what's crazy is, listen, you win a national championship, nobody can take that away from you. Not even if you're Louisville, they take down the banner. It doesn't matter. You still won the national championship. But what's crazy about it is the fact that never won a tournament game since then. And I've argued, I think the NCAA tournament championship is now the outlier in his career. That's a guy that's known for winning a lot of regular season games, not a lot of postseason games, won the national championship, never won a tournament game after, which is absolutely insane. I threw out this stat. Kevin Ollie, who coached at UConn, won that 2014 national title. Even Kevin Ollie won at least one tournament game after making the Final Four. So, or after winning the title in 2014, he won a game in 2016. It's kind of irrelevant. I bring it up. This is just shocking news. A couple of Virginia fans in the comment section says it's my assumption he's doing it to close the season so that the AD has no choice but to let Sanchez coach. I agree. But this is just surprising news. And so now Tony Bennett retires. And what's crazy is, how many coaches left have won a national championship? Hurley's won the last 2. Let's see. Bill Self has won 2. There's not very many people outside of that. Coach K is gone with his 5, Jay Wright with his 2, Tony Bennett with his 1, Roy Williams with his 3 or 4, whatever it ended up being. But just absolutely shocking. And I agree with the Virginia fan in the comment section basically saying, like, dude, I think this was done to get his guy the assistant coaching job. So he retires. Again, we'll listen to the press conference on whatever it is, Friday. I don't think there's anything nefarious. I do think that this is to get his lead assistant, the assistant coaches, or to get the head coaching job and kind of hand it off the way that he wants to. And I'll say this, I don't think this is one of those weird, like Urban Meyer at Florida. Oh, there's health issues. I'm stepping aside. And then a year later, he pops up somewhere else. I mean, I can see him going to the NBA, being a scout, being a TV guy, being an NBA assistant, maybe even being an NBA head coach. But this isn't like, oh, he's stepping down from Virginia because it's a mess. And if the Indiana job opens up next year, he's taking the Indiana job. I don't see it like that at all. I think he's stepping away from college basketball. I think it's a new world. NIL is now a thing. Again, Virginia is never going to be a place that just pays bottom dollar, top dollar for the best players. That's just not who they are. And so Tony Bennett has decided to step aside. I'll tell you what, I think I'm holding the staff here from breaking down this conference room. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Our college football picks have been red hot. I'll just give them to you really quick. We don't need to spend too much time on them because, again, somebody's going to boot me out of here whether I want to or not. So college football picks, I have 6 picks, by the way, 28-11 against the spread, just a staggering number. Not to brag, I'm just saying that because that's a fact 5-1 last week. I'll be quick with my best bets. Let's see. Producer Matt just sent me a graphic, so I'll just go ahead and pull that up. So let's see here. My best bets for the week, they will be available at AaronTorresOnline.com here very soon. But my best bets, that Indiana game to open the day, I like the under of 50.5 Indiana-Nebraska. Let's see, the 3:30 Tennessee-Alabama game. Listen, I know it's a lot of unders. I think that Tennessee offense chews up the clock. I don't think they're going to bend but don't break on defense. I like the under 56.5, kind of like Tennessee as a 3-point favorite. The night game, well, before we get to the night games, Colorado, I like them. I think the wrong team's favored. They're playing at Arizona. I like Colorado plus 3.5. Then you get to the night games. Arkansas, listen, LSU barely survived against Ole Miss at home in a game where, Ole Miss had 12 penalties for over 100 yards, basically dropped a touchdown pass on the opening drive. Great win for LSU. You're going into a Hornets nest in Fayetteville. They call it Fayette-Nam for those late night games. I think Arkansas wins and covers the 2.5. The late game, UK against Florida. I actually like the under of 42.5 in that one. I know that's not the sexiest pick or the sexiest play, but the bottom line is Mark Stoops on the road, SEC game. He's not going to put his foot on the gas. And then the late one, I just think 3.5 is too much for Georgia. I've been on the Georgia isn't very good train this year, but the one thing about Georgia, they are battle tested. That Clemson win looks better every single week. Let's see here. The Kentucky, you say what you want about Kentucky. Kentucky's got a top 10 defense nationally. They beat Kentucky. And listen, they did lose to Alabama, but they were a play away from beating Alabama. So those are my best bets. Tony Bennett reaction. I got to get out of here. I got to check into my hotel room. How about I just check into the hotel room? Thank you to the staff at Resorts World who basically just gave me a conference room on the fly. Wish I could stay longer. Wish I could talk more. A fascinating story. And maybe we do something on Friday, depending if we get any more information out of the press conference. Tony Bennett steps aside. Appreciate everybody's support. Before I get out of here, one last thing. Before I get out of here, I got to thank our partners, Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. So listen, I'm traveling. I'm on a plane. I'm in Vegas. I'm not going to, I might have a couple beverages that I'm not supposed to have, but I want to make sure to keep eating healthy. And what I have to do is I got to grab some Collie Puffs. Okay, so Collie Puffs, family-owned company in California, not far from where I live. And the thought with Collie Puffs was pretty straightforward. Young entrepreneur named Joey. He's a football fan, season ticket holder with the Rams. And he was asking himself, I need to eat something healthy during football season or I'm going to turn into a fat slob. And oh, by the way, I need something that my kids like as well. So he created Collie Puffs, baked, not fried, healthy ingredients. But here's the crazy part. They taste delicious. I've told you before, we have them at the Torres house. I eat them. The wife eats them. If one of them drops on the floor, my dog sprints over to grab it before I can even pick it up. So if you want more information, this is the new age snack. It's delicious, but it's healthy. This is what you got to do. Go visit ColliePuffs.com. ColliePuffs.com. Also worth noting, they are available on Amazon as well. So you're on Amazon, you're buying, shoes or refrigerator or car parts or whatever you're doing on Amazon. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know what's in your cart. It's not my business. But throw some Collie Puffs in. You'll enjoy them. Tell them Torres sent you. Thank you to Collie Puffs. I got to get out of here. I'm about to get booted out of this hotel lobby, whatever, conference room. Thank you for your support. Time for me to go. Appreciate you. And we'll be back, Sunday night. We'll react to this whole weekend of college football, Texas, Georgia, on and on, Tennessee, Alabama, etc. Shout out to Torrin Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick, you F-head. Unblock me, bro. And shout out to Tony Bennett. Enjoy retirement, my man. We'll get more information on